Okay, my name is Christopher Baisan. I'm a research specialist here at the lab. I've worked here since the 1980s, helping with research projects, doing everything from project design to field work to work in the shop. The samples collected in the field are large, sometimes bulky, rough, often dirty. They have to be first cut down and a flat surface put on them so that they can be sanded effectively. And the way that we do this is to use a large bandsaw. So we try to get samples that are approximately the right size and then just cut them flat with the bandsaw so that they're easy to sand and that you've picked the place that you think will show you the best representative part of the sample, for your purposes. When you cut it with the bandsaw, this is the first time that you really get to see inside and what the sample is actually going to look like. So it can be disappointing, or it can be like, eureka! Oh, it's the perfect sample. It's like Christmas. So once you have a flat surface cut on the sample with the bandsaw, the next step is to use a belt sander in a sanding hood to collect the dust, to polish the surface in order to be able to look at it under a microscope and see the detail that you need. And if the rings are very tiny, you have to have it really highly polished. And to do this, you use a series of different grit belts, or different coarseness of belts. You start with a very coarse one, and then you use progressively finer and finer belts to remove the scratches and the previous grit of sanding belt left on the wood. And you end up with a piece that's highly polished, like a piece of furniture. It looks often they're quite beautiful when you get into that state. If you're sanding resinous wood, particularly like the pines that are common, particularly when you're doing fire history sample, often the pines have a lot of fire scars, and they're really resinous. Especially the wounded area can be very just saturated with wood resin, and this will build up on the sanding belt to the point where it just clogs the grit. We have what's essentially the same as a crepe shoe sole in a stick that you can use to remove the resin from the belt, and it builds up too much. Once the samples are all polished up in the shop, then you take them up into the lab and look at it with a microscope to do the tree ring dating and identify the features that you were interested in that might be present on the piece of wood.